All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Negotiating Roles of Media Through Framing. And my name is Edmund. I'm from TAR UMT, so I'll be moderating the session for today. We feel very lucky and honored we are able to have Dr. Sharon Wilson from University Tunku Abdul Rahman and also Dr. Dafrizal from Universitas Islam Riau from Indonesia joining us today. So before we begin, a brief reminder, our flow for today's webinar, we will have Dr. Sharon to share from her side first, a lot of the, what do you call it, framing that she sees and so on and so forth. Then we have Dr. Dafrizal. And after that, we will have a Q&A session once we've completed that. So I would like to encourage everyone, if you do have any questions, you can put it into the chat box here. You can also designate or put note to say that if this particular question is directed whether to both speakers or to a specific speaker, to let us know. Then when during our Q&A session, I'll read through the questions and we'll get Dr. Sharon or Dr. Dafrizal to share their viewpoints. All right. So I will continue to admit more people in. Okay, so I would like to start with a brief introduction for our speakers. Dr. Sharon. So Dr. Sharon Wilson is an assistant professor at the Department of Mass Comm at University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Utah in Malaysia. She holds a PhD in communication from the National University of Malaysia, UKM. She is a 2013 scholar of the study of the United States Institutes and a fellow of the Summer Institute for Asia Fellow in the News Literacy Program 2014, Hong Kong. So in 2020, she won an AEJMC International Communication Division Teaching Award, which makes her the first to win this recognition outside of the United States. Her research focuses on media, crime, and society, and online communities. So she's currently the chairperson for the Center of Media and Communication Research in her university itself. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Sharon to share her screen and also to begin her session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edmund,
All right.
and having me in this session. And I also special thank you to Dr. Lim for inviting me. Many may not know, but Dr. Dafrizal and I are very old friends. We both did our PhDs together. We shared the same supervisor. And I think after 12 years, we are reunited
Wow.
again
Wow.
on this platform. So I'm so glad and so happy to share this platform with my colleague and friend, Dr. Dafrizal. So thank you so much for allowing us to, in Malay, they say, bertemu kembali, to come back together and meet up again. Thank you so much. Let me share my slides with everybody.
Sure.
And when I share my slides, I will switch off my own video so that you get to focus on the slides and not me. Okay. All right. Okay. Dr. Edmund, if you can tell me, you can see, then I will continue.
Yes, we can see your slides. It's not on full screen mode yet.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Is that better?
I think it's loading. It's not on full screen yet though.
Okay.
Mm,
I've already put it on full screen, so let me see.
okay. We are seeing the slides in PowerPoint from your
Oh,
side.
hang on. Let me just unshare first.
Yes, yes.
Stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, we can see your PowerPoint. It's not on.
It's I have put it on.
Okay. We are still seeing the power. I think we can proceed.
Okay,
Maybe,
hang on. I'll
maybe
I'll I'll make
uh,
this smaller.
smaller. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Okay, that looks great. Yeah. Uh,
okay,
sure. I think you can start
okay.
the
All
sharing.
right.
Thank you so
All good.
much. Mm.
Thank you. Okay, so good morning, everybody. So today I'm going to share the topic called media framing influence on public perception and societal reactions using true crimes reported in the Malaysian media. So, as I go on with the concept of media framing, I will be using four case studies. I've picked these four because of its impact and sensationalism. Of course, there are many, many different crimes that have been reported over the years, but these are the four among the four that has really impacted society of late. Some may be very familiar to some of you, some you may have forgotten. Okay, so I'm here to remind you of what has happened. But before I start, I just want to give you a brief overview of what is media framing. Now, media framing is a way in which the information is shaped by the journalists and how they present this content to the readers, and it allows audiences to understand and interpret it. So if you notice in agenda setting, you have a set agenda, the media has a set agenda, and then the journalist frames the content in such a way that when the information is disseminated to the audience tends to either take it as it is, as how the journalists would have perceived it. So, media framing really plays a crucial role in shaping public perception, especially of crimes. Now, I'm not saying it's just crimes alone, it could be economics, it could be politics, and so on and so forth. But specific to my presentation and my research area, we are talking about how the media can actually skew the audience perception about certain crimes, for instance. So, this process of media framing involves the media selecting certain aspects of a perceived reality and making them more salient in communications. So what journalists do is they pick certain elements to highlight to the audience. So a lot of times when you read the news, you look at the news and you think, hey, this is all there is. This is so impactful. But then little do we realize there are so many other aspects which the journalists are not showing us as readers, and those information that they are not showing us could also be important, but the journalist decides what information we should read. Okay, and it influences the how the audience understands and interprets information. So when you frame certain information, you are only allowing the audience to read and to understand certain issues that you want them to read and understand. All right. So if you're going to present news negatively, then your audience is going to see it as as negative as it would be. So in my analysis of this news, I'm presenting it using Goffman's frame analysis and Edmund's framing theory to examine crime reporting in Malaysia. Now, the theoretical framework that I'm basing it on, Goffman's frame analysis, which is media frames, which help organize experiences and guides actions, and also Entman's framing theory. So, framing involves selection and salience, and it defines problems, it diagnoses causes, it makes moral judgments, and it suggests remedies. So, by using these different theories, you can actually understand how media constructs crime narratives. But at the same time, there are also other theories. For example, in sociology, there is a theory called situational dramaturgical explanations, where it dramatizes crime news. So information that is given is dramatized. It is to the point of sensationalizing it. So, if in one of the case studies, a rapist is defined or is explained or is described by the media as a monster or as a beast. So, when you use those terms, you are dramatizing it. Okay, you are taking something that is not there, or in this case, it could be there, and you are making it larger than life. So when you refer to a human being as a beast, you already get a picture. This is someone that is horrible. Okay, so we always see when we see this word monster, beast, we refer to it as something very negative. So this is how all three aspects, government's frame analysis, Edmund's framing theory, and also uh, dramaturgical elements come into play when you want to construct crime narratives. Now, what is the media's role in crime reporting? So the media serves as an informer, and we all know this very well, that they are informers, they play a role as watchdog, they are agenda setters, and sometimes they also play the role of entertainer. Now, entertainer here doesn't necessarily mean,
Dr.
yes,
Sharon, sorry.
yes,
Yeah, I think the slide is not moving. So
hang
you
on, huh? Can you see
just
this?
hang on now. It's we're still on the title slide.
Oh dear, my goodness.
Alright,
Hang on.
it's okay.
Okay, and I am going to share again. Uh, can you see it now?
Yes, we are on theoretical
Framework.
framework
Okay.
slide.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So just let me know if you're not
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
going to move on now.
Mm.
Okay, so you're seeing the slide that's media's role in crime reporting.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So when we say media's role in crime reporting, we are looking at media, like I said earlier, serving the role as informer, watchdog, agenda setter, and entertainer. Now, when I say entertainer, entertainer doesn't mean song and dance, but entertainer here is how a journalist or how the media can entertain the audience in terms of creating some sort of uh, feeling. Okay, if you get excited, if it's just like when you watch a concert, you get excited, you get emotionally driven. So likewise, when you read crimes, you can get very emotionally driven. So if you notice, in this whole week we had a major crime that occurred, where there was a guy, a policeman, who actually killed his girlfriend, and that has caught on very fast. It has become very sensational, mainly because the suspect is a policeman, but also the way in which the crime was committed. So the media tends to sensationalize and entertain the audience by giving all these different elements. Okay, I'll give you the examples later and show you how this works. So in crime reporting, the media informs the public, sets the agenda for discourse, and influences societal response to crime. So what do you mean by influences societal responses to crime? You will see that when a particular crime occurs, and there is investigations going on, you will see that people become so excited that they will want to go to the crime scene, or they will start posting comments on, now we have TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and so on. So they will go on social media on their own platforms and give comments. So suddenly they become crime analysts. So that is, in a way, for us as researchers, it's a fascinating time, because it shows us what is society's response to what is going on. So for researchers, it's a fantastic time, because we get to see what is happening, and we get to see the societal response or societal influence of that story. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is the different types of crime coverage in Malaysian media. So when I say crime coverage, it can be all sorts of crimes, but I will not be talking about terrorism specifically, but I will be talking about hard crimes. So hard crimes here can be traditional hard crimes like violent crimes like murder, assault, robberies, white collar crimes, which is increasing today. That would include corruption, fraud, embezzlement. Cyber crimes can be online scams or hacking. And then you have societal crimes or social crimes like drug abuse or human trafficking. Okay, so the first case study I want to show you um, I, is a violent crime, which is the example of Kim Jong Nam, the assassination of Kim Jong Nam in 2017, where this Korean man, North Korean man, who is said to be the brother of the current Korean premier, he had come to Malaysia and he was assassinated in KLIA 2. So we find that I'm just going to pause for a moment. There's some distractions on my end.
Sure, no problem.
Just one moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the study on this framing is actually quite interesting, especially for students who are going through mass communication theory. Yeah, the theory of framing is really gives us an insight on how media kind of impacts society's response as well, especially when we see a lot of news happening.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
can you see the larger
We
slides, Edmund?
we can see case study one, violent crimes.
Y- y- You see Kim
Kim Jong
Jong Nam,
Nam. Yeah, we see Kim Jong Nam assassination
and then you
with
see the female assassins, right?
uh
No.
yes, we see that, but it was quite small. The female
Ah,
assassin strike KIA too.
okay,
Yeah,
that's it, right? That's all
yeah,
you
yeah,
see, right? Okay, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. So, you see this, right? So you see how it is being reported.
Mm.
Okay, so Kim Jong Nam's half brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong Un was assassinated. So the analysis of headline says high profile assassination at KLIA. And it says North Korean intrigue at Malaysian airport. So you notice these words, intrigue, high profile, all these are ways in which journalists actually frame a particular story. So when you put these kinds of words, high profile, assassination, we don't normally get those kinds of news in Malaysia. Assassination, we see like the other day you see Donald Trump, okay, assassination attempt, or president of such and such a country assassinated. But in Malaysia, when it comes out like this, and especially in reference to North Korea, okay, because of the history of it, then we see that there is a kind of a larger number of people who want to read about it. So the framing techniques here is dramatization, sensationalism, and political intrigue. So you create some kind of a political. What is this North Korean guy doing in Malaysia? Why is he assassinated in Malaysia? Why not another country, for example? So people are very very fascinated by it. So what is the implication of this crime? It amplifies fear and interest. It influences public perception of safety and international relations, because we know media framing plays a crucial role in shaping public perception. So this whole process involves the media selecting certain kinds of perceived realities, and pushing it forward. So the outlet decides which crime to report, how prominent to feature them. So when it's high profile, uh, like in this case, King Jong Nam, uh, the other lesser crimes may be underreported. So when this particular crime comes out, you notice all other crimes are downplayed. So the selective reporting can lead to public believing that, oh, this is more important than the rest. So if you notice, during this time 2017, when this occurs, other smaller, I won't say smaller, crimes are crimes. Even crimes such as rape and so on are downplayed, and more focus is given to this. So the narrative construction, the way this crime story is told, can shape people's public's understanding and attitude. So, using sensational language or focusing on dramatic elements, it creates a perception of a crime wave. Even though crime rates may be stable or decreasing in Malaysia, but when we see this, we say, oh no, like this is of international levels. So it kind of receives dramatic treatment lah. Okay, it receives dramatic treatment. Okay, the second one is violent crimes, the murder of Norita Samsudin. Okay, so the murder of Norita Samsudin was found dead in her apartment, leading to again another so-called high-profile murder case. Now, she was seen as firstly, she was reported as a public relations executive. Then, eventually, she was reported as a part time model. Now, the reason why this case uh, was very high profile simply because the way in which she was killed. uh, Reports, forensics testings, and so on showed that she had sexual relations before she was killed. So the dramatization, this was terrible because the media dramatized her as a woman with loose morals. Okay, they even use,
Sorry, Dr.
yeah.
Wilson. I think it's still on case study one, the slides.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, it's
Can
okay.
you see this now?
Ah, yes. Great.
That means I have to come out and go back in.
Uh, yeah.
Can you see that now?
Yes, yes, we can see case study two.
Okay.
Do you want to grab a quick drink first?
Because I'm actually recovering from a flu.
Ah, okay, I see, I see.
Yeah.
It's okay. Take your time.
So anyway, I hope you can hear me clearly. Yeah?
Yes, yes, we
And
can.
forgive me for all my coughing and
No
snorting.
worries. No worries.
Okay. So you will notice that, with the framing technique here, dramatization, sensationalism, emphasis on the victim's lifestyle. So she was seen as woman with loose morals because she was a model. Uh, and then, of course, because of her status, knowing that she's a Malay lady, and then seeing as she is young, she's a part-time model, and because they found that she had multiple partners, this is a no-no because being a Malaysian Muslim some more. So the media went to town with it. They dramatized it. They used her, what had happened to her, uh, to the advantage of sensationalizing her case. And because of the nature in which her body was found, uh, she was tied. She was semi naked. She was tied, her hands bound, her mouth gagged. So that was played up. Okay, so the emphasis on victims' lifestyle was very bad, very badly done, very unethical, and they amplified the fear. They influenced the public perception of safety and morality. It was terrible. And unfortunately, until today, her murder is unsolved because they had multiple suspects. And the engineer that was charged with the murder, he was acquitted eventually. Okay. The third case study, let me come out and go back in. Can you see the case study three, Dr. Edmund?
We can see that, but we have this picture missing
Ah,
KF. So but that covers the uh
okay.
behind it lah. Yeah, but we can see it.
Okay. Let me remove that. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
Ah, wonderful. Okay. The third case study is the high profile assassination. You see another word here, assassination again, but it's more of a murder in this case. Kevin Moraes. So in 2015, Deputy Public Prosecutor, he's a judge. He was a judge, Kevin Moraes. He was kidnapped and he was found murdered in a concrete filled drum. Okay, concrete filled drum. And the language is shocking murder of high profile prosecutor, mystery deepens in brutal killing. So the technique again was personalization, dramatization linked to high stakes corruption case. And he was, because he's a judge, so they tied it up with, somehow they tied it up with the 1MDB, which he had no relations to. And then it kind of highlighted issues of corruption and governance. It raised public concerns about safety of officials. So here you'll find that, in all these three stories that I'm showing you, the source selection, so the media often relies on official sources such as police or government officials to frame their crime stories. Now, this leads to sometimes one-sided perspectives that emphasizes the efficiency of law enforcement and the seriousness of crime. But sometimes it potentially overlooks issues, systemic issues or alternative viewpoints. In his case, in the Judge Kevin Moraes case, they started interviewing family members like his brother and so on. Similarly, visual imagery are also used to create framing, where photographs and video footage accompanies crime reports, and it has a great impact on public perception. So you find that graphic images or dramatic reconstructions can sometimes highlight or heighten a sense of fear and urgency. In Malaysia, media coverage of crime often includes images of suspects, which shouldn't be done lah. But because of competition among the media, we find that sometimes these medias tend to break the law and become a bit unethical because they want to include images of suspects as well. Suspects are not allowed to be taken pictures of, and their names are not allowed to be highlighted because they are just suspects. They haven't been charged in court. So sometimes it's also crime scenes, like in Norita's case, in Kevin Moraes' case. They take pictures of the crime scene, and this can have a very um, lasting impression on the audience. When you see these kind of gory pictures and so on, it has a great impact on the audience. Okay, the last case I want to highlight is hard crimes. Can you see this, Dr. Edmund?
Yes, I can see that. Case study for hard crimes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now many of you may not know this. There is an example of Selvakumar Subaya, and I'm not showing you anything at the moment because I just want you to take a moment and figure out what crime he may have committed. Anybody? Do you know what crime?
I
Okay,
think that. Oh,
so okay, for Selva Kumar Supaya, this is what I meant. Beast returns. Okay, so Beast returns. Why Beast returns? Because this guy Selva Kumar Supaya, he's a Malaysian. He spent years in Canada. Okay, years in Canada, and he was extradited. Okay, extradited to back to Malaysia. Why extradited? Okay, let's see.
we're
Be-
still on the
yes,
same slide.
same
Yeah.
same. Yeah. Okay. Can you see this? Criminal activities?
No, the one we see criminal activities. Selva Kumar, the text with Malay males headline repeat offender.
Okay.
Is
Now,
that the one?
yes.
Okay.
Can you see now?
Yes, yes, that's the slide that we seeing.
Okay. So you
Mm,
will see criminal activities. Huh?
yes.
Okay, great. So Selva Kumar Supaya, when he was in Canada, he had sexually assaulted women to the point rape, sexually assault plus rape lah, um, from 1980 to early 2000. So reports shows that he had sexually assaulted, or raped almost 200 women. Now, I want to bring your attention because a lot of us, when we read this, they say, oh, okay, no big deal. But these crimes were committed in Canada, yes, in Canada, but he's a Malaysian man. Okay. So in 1992, he was convicted in Canada of 19 counts, sentenced 24 years in prison. He finished his prison term. So what happens? He's not Canadian, right? So he has to be sent back to Malaysia. So he got deported back to Malaysia. Um, None of us know this, unless you've been following crimes lah. But Selva Kumar Supaya is a walking human being, citizen of Malaysia now. Okay, a free man in Malaysia. But of course, because of his crimes, every day he's got to go to the nearest police station and report, sign in, sign out. Okay, because we do not have a sexual registry, sexual predators registry in Malaysia, unlike America and other countries. So he's every day he's got to go and sign in at the nearest balai, uh, kind of like a login logout lah. So his return to Malaysia sparked public outrage. Really, people were so disgusted at what happened. The Malay Mail and other Malaysian newspapers, they started repeating the history. So they highlighted his background, what he had done, and so on. His crimes included drugging his victims and assaulting them. So he would manipulate their trust. So he would tell them that he was a agent, a modeling agent, or a real estate agent. Because when he's a modeling agent, he would meet these women somewhere, and then he would drug them with date drugs, and then he would take them back, or he would show them a house as a real estate agent, and similarly this would happen. So there were a lot of women who were involved. So some of the crimes, some of the reports showed that they were repeating because he didn't commit the crime in Malaysia. So the reports that the Malaysian media were getting were mostly from Canada. So they were repeating what was reported. And if you notice in the picture that I'm showing you, there's a woman there. She was one of the victims who came forward to report it in the media in Canada. And she was the one who broke the story. She was a victim. She broke the story. And that is also how everybody knew about him. And so this there were a lot of there aren't much visual imagery of this story, but the way in which it was reported, the contextualizing, the background information provided definitely influenced public understanding. There was comprehensive reporting that includes social, economic, cultural context, which offered a different view to what had happened to all these victims. So you see that some headline says monster returns. And again, the dramatization, sensationalism, the emphasis was on the suspect's modus operandi. So modus operandi means what was his operating procedures, what was his process, what did he do to lure the women. So that was the Malaysian media's highlight, that the fact that he would manipulate, he would take on a persona, he would sweet talk these women, he would lure them to his house. And mind you, he was a married man. He had a wife who was at home, and he also didn't allow his wife out of the house. So all the background about him became something of a discussion point for the public. Okay. Okay. So you'll be looking at a slide now called comparative analysis.
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about comparative analysis, you can see that even though the crimes, they are different, but in many ways they are reported in a similar fashion. So common patterns include sensationalism in violent crime reporting, and you can see all four stories that I mentioned are very sensational. Moral framing, in white collar crime. So anything to do with like 1MDB or corruption, it's always morally. They tend to frame it morally. If it is cyber crimes, it's technical. If it's social crimes, like Norita Samsudin is very empathetic in framing. So you can see a theme that the news stories are focusing on, or the journalists are focusing on. But generally, one common trait, one common frame that all the stories tend to follow is sensationalism. Now, there is a difference. The differences highlight how media negotiates its role based on the nature of the crime. So, if, for instance, if it is like Kevin Moraes, because he's a civil servant, then it is based on his job as a judge, for example, uh, versus, let's say, Norita Samsudin. So the nature in which who they are also plays a role in how the crime is going to be reported in the media. So, when we talk about audience perception and media influence, different frames influence public perception and understanding of the crime. So, role of media in shaping societal norms and values regarding crime and justice is, you can see this now more than before, because now with social media, you see a lot of members of society or readers commenting on their social media platforms. So when that happens, it creates moral panics, where you know uh, there is a the perceived threat is exaggerated and leading to widespread fear and calls for action. For instance, in Selva Kumar's case, because nobody knows where he is or where he's hiding out, so it creates fear and it calls for action. For instance, there is a call for a sexual crimes predators registry. So in Malaysia, media coverage of issues like violence, like this, generally creates a sense of moral panic, and it influences public opinion and policy response. But sometimes it also can create stereotypes and biasness. So, for instance, crime reports sometimes disproportionately highlights offences committed to a specific group, so it reinforces negative stereotypes. Like, for instance, if it's gang violence, then it's specific to a particular group, or if it is scams, people's mind, the media tends to highlight it to a specific group. So when that happens, um, it's the negative side of media framing, where as much as media wants to highlight this to the public, but you can also create some sort of a negative element lah, to the for the public to understand. So there is a great need for media literacy when you consume the news. Now, when it comes to ethical considerations, I have a question here that I would like you to think about. Maybe discuss it amongst yourselves or with your lecturers. How media framing of crime stories can create sensationalism. So here we find that media emphasizes on violent and unusual crimes. So when any crimes that are very unusual, that doesn't happen often, which generally doesn't, there is a use of dramatic language and headlines, and these dramatic language and headlines are very eye-catching and can elicit strong emotional responses. So you create urgency, when even if it's not urgent, you do create urgency with graphic imagery and visuals. Like I said earlier, sometimes the media tends to take pictures of uh, you know crime scenes, or with the gory details, or with the pictures of the suspects. So sometimes this graphic imagery and visuals may not be ethical in nature, but the impact of unethical reporting on victims, on perpetrators, on society. For instance, Norita Samsudin's case, the family of Norita Samsudin, they had to move from their current place where they are living to a different town, because they were so embarrassed, and public members of the public were harassing the family, telling them, what their daughter did was wrong. So it was victimization by the members of the public. When they read the story, they did not look at Norita as the victim, but they started blaming her for what had befallen upon her. So there is sometimes lack of context, or lack of empathy when it is set in motion like this. So what happens next is something called trial by media, or now we call it trial by social media, when netizens are criminalists or criminologists, when bloggers, YouTubers, TikTokers are analysts. So they have something called trial by media. So trial by media means that the netizens themselves play judge and jury, and they tend to influence other readers into taking sides. And so traditional media like newspapers not so impactful as today, because trial by social media, where these netizens, they have a sense of rapidly spreading information, and their posts and comments can go viral, reaching a vast audience in a short period of time. And because they are user generated content, so which means anyone can share their views, accusations, support without any verification. And when that happens, it creates a kind of echo chamber. Okay, what is an echo chamber? Uh, so echo chamber is when users are exposed to information that aligns with their own beliefs. So, for instance, when you agree with the TikToker or YouTuber or influencer, you agree with them, you agree with their viewpoints, and you tend to highlight so, so that means that the person behind the keyboard, he or she has their own viewpoints, and you agree with that viewpoints, and you also reinforce this viewpoint. So it creates a kind of echo chamber, and these viewpoints may sometimes be misinformation and fake accusations, which is what happened to the the social media influencer Esha, where when people the people who were against her, the social media practitioners, they were against her. They were commenting on her, and then you have all these people, all these viewers who supported that. That creates echo chambers, okay, and it causes public shaming in and vigilantism. So social media can facilitate public shaming and digital vigilantism, where individuals or groups take it upon themselves to punish the accused through online harassments, doxing, or coordinated attacks. And that is what happened. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, the social media influencer Isha, she took her life because she could not stand the online harassment. What happens here is there's a permanent digital record of digital footprint, where accusations and discussions of social media, you leave a permanent digital record, which can have a long lasting effect on individuals' reputation. So similarly, other crimes include you create cancel cultures, where you cancel out certain persons, individuals, or groups or brands. Yeah. So this happens with crimes as well, where you would want to cancel out certain people or certain groups. So there is a great legal and ethical concern, because trial by media and trial by social media can raise significant ethical questions about presumption of innocence, the right to a fair trial, and the responsibility for of both traditional and social media in reporting and discussing ongoing legal cases, because you cannot discuss legal cases, ongoing legal cases. So that will influence what is the proceedings itself. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that, in the summary of the key findings, we find that media framing significantly influences public perception of crime in Malaysia, especially now more so than before. because today, even though the media reports a particular crime, nevertheless, with social media, you open more portals and more platforms for people to discuss their viewpoints, and these viewpoints, without them realizing, may be detrimental to the ongoing case, to the victim themselves, and so on. So different crimes are framed distinctively, in distinct ways, yeah, and it reflects and shapes societal attitude. So it's very cyclical in nature, where the journalist writes a story, and then you have people on social media who highlight the story and tend to, take the story to a different direction. So that's a lot of things that's happening right now, which can kind of crucify the victim or crucify the suspect's chances of having a fair trial. And there is an importance of responsible journalism, and most importantly, media literacy. Every individual needs to be media literate in navigating these frames. They need to have an analytical mind to be able to think rationally and logically when we are reading these crime stories. Now, I want to remind everybody also that when it comes to media framing, of course, crimes are a very interesting topic, but this can happen to any topic: politics, sports, entertainment, whatever it is. It can happen to any kind of topic. So, anyways, I hope you have learned something from here. Once again, I apologize for any technical issues that may have you may have come across, and also for my horrible horrible flu that I'm I'm going through right now. I hate this, but I'm so happy to be able to share this with you. If you have any questions, can drop me a line at my email here, or you can hold the questions for later. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sharon, for sharing that as well. And I think it is very, it's very eye opening because to be able to see how social media kind of amplifies the media framing effects that happens, and again, looking at how important having media literacy is. So thank you so much, Dr. Sharon, for sharing that. Even
Thank you
even
very much.
though you are having the flu, we hope that you do recover well soon. All
Thank
right.
you.
So now we'll move on to Dr. Dafrizal. A quick introduction to Dr. Dafrizal. He's born in Indonesia. He completed his undergraduate degree in TFL in Universitas Riau. He completed his Master of Social Science and PhD in Communication Sciences at UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Dr. Davriza currently is active as a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Communication Sciences, Universitas Islam Riau. Apart from that, he's also active in various scientific forums such as national and international conferences. He does guest lectures and he has also published various working papers and journals. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Davrizal to share his screen and also to share uh, his points of view. Okay, we can see all right, we can see full screen. Um, yes, framing theory. Thank you, Dr. Davrizal. You can begin.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Edmund, and especially Dr. Lee, who invited me as one of the speakers for this webinar. For this today, for this morning, so I will bring the title of presentations about the framing theory and framing renewable energy and news coverage issues. Basically, for my research on my PhD is about a framing theory. But for this title is a part of my current research. Still on process or still ongoing process. I mean, concerns on renewable energy issues. Thanks for this presentation. Just a short, brief presentation because of time. Yeah, that's it. No?
Sure, no problem.
Uh, Here, conceptual issues for this framing theory and renewable energy. Uh, Based on the baselines of the framing theory, based on my reading, in 1950s, Batson was the first scholar to introduce framing theory. In his book, first edition in 1972, and the second edition in 1978, entitled "Step to Ecology of Mind" for this book. And the essence, the core of framing based on Batson 1950s is the frame as a meta communicator. And then, as mentioned by the Sharon Gottman, yeah, 1974, 74, that the core of framing is sees a frame as a stream of behavior that leads people to read and reality. In the context of news or media, 1978, Dutchman looks at news or frame as a window to the world. That means that the reality of an event depends on to what extent the event can be viewed and understood by journalists and then translated into news. Then Gamson and Modigliani, 1989. 1989 defined frame as a central organizing idea for making sense of relevant event, suggesting what is the issue and the causes of the event to be noticed out of have names. Uh, Still in context of media, Pan and Kasiki, 1993, have divided the concept of frames into two perspectives. Sociologically, framing is an actively classified and organized process that interprets our life experiences in order to make sense of them. Psychologically, framing is viewed as placing information in a unique context so that certain elements of the issue get a greater allocation in individual cognitive resources. And then uh, Quill 2000 framing is a way of giving some interpretation to isolated items of fact. A very popular definition or conceptual definition of theoretical perspective, Edmund 1983, sees the framing essentially involves selection and failure. Edmund uh, says say the core of framing to frame is to select some aspects of particularity and make them more salient in communication text in such a way as to promote a particular problem identification, causal interpretation, moral evaluation, and treatment recommendation. In the context of renewable energy, the International Energy Agency defines renewable energy as energy derived from natural processes that are replenished at a faster rate than they are consumed, and mentions solar, wind, geothermal, hydro, and biomass as examples of renewable energy. Here, the importance of framing in media studies. Uh, Back to the first concept of framing triggered by Batson. Let's say frame as the way events and issues are organized. And in media studies, uh, Tashman looks at the news frame as window to the world. For me, uh, Tashman is the one of the first scholar who brings the concept of framing to the news studies or the media studies. In this case, the means the reality of an event depends on to what an extent the event can be viewed and understood. This is the core points of attachment. So that's why the key elements of framing, uh, selection, emphasis, exclusion, and elaboration. Then, based on the key elements of framing, selection, emphasis, exclusion, and elaboration, then we come to the influence on public opinion. Based on public opinion is how framing affects the audience's understanding and perception, and then the impact and policy making. It is concerns on role of media framing in shaping public policy and political decision. Okay, and then I just want bring one example of negotiating meaning through framing regarding renewable energy issues. Uh, Based on my one of previous studies in my research, I just bring the framing renewable energy comparative study of newspaper in Australia and Sweden. I think this is one of credible uh, studies about the comparative studies of framing renewable energy issues. And the studies focus on how newspaper in these two countries frame renewable energy issues. And based on my analysis on this journal, there are some points. The first, positive versus negative frame of renewable energy. So this newspaper tend to frame renewable energy positively, emphasizing the environmental benefit, technological advancement, and economic opportunities. This coverage is more supportive and aligned with Sweden's progressive energy policies. Then Australian newspaper. These papers, based on journal, this is display more mixed framing with both positive and negative aspect, while there are articles that highlight the potential benefits of renewable energy. There's also significant coverage on the challenges, costs, and skepticism regarding the feasibility and reliability of renewable energy sources. The next issues is focus of framing, still based on the Dutch journal. Environmental impact versus economic aspects. Environmental impact. Swedish newspaper often highlight the positive environmental impact of renewable energy, focusing on role in mitigating climate change. While in Australia, the economic implication, such as cost and job impacts, are frequently discussed, with a notable focus on economic challenges of transitioning to renewable energy. In the context of policy and political context, uh, based on the analysis, Sweden, the supportive governmental policies. This is a national goals for renewable energy are reflected in the media coverage, which tend to be more aligned with the promoting renewable energy as a part of the country's sustainable development agenda. While in Australia, the political debate around energy policy is more polarized, with media coverage reflecting this division. There is significant coverage of political and policy disputes related to renewable energy. Okay. While in the context of perception influence, the framing in both countries influences public perception significantly. In Sweden, for example, the positive framing helps build the public support for renewable energy initiative, while in Australia, the mixed framing can contribute to public ambivalence or skepticism. So, based on my analysis to the one of the previous studies, this journal, the studies underscores the importance of media framing in shaping public opinion. Okay, yeah. The study underscores the importance of media framing in shaping public opinion and policy support for renewable energy. By comparing the media narrative in these two countries, the research provides insight into how different framing strategies can impact the public understanding and acceptance of renewable energy technologies. So, the essential of framing is how to how the media to shape the public opinion and influence the audience or the public. Okay, thank you, Dr. Edmund.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tafrizal. It's great to see how that particular framing between the two countries and how it actually impacts public's perception on that particular issue on renewable energy. So thank you to both speakers. We've now moved on to our Q&A session. We encourage you to write down if you have any particular questions. We do apologize that we are running slightly out of our 11:30 end timeline. But do drop any questions you have. While we wait for questions from the audience, we do have one from Dr. Lim. This is addressed to both speakers. So the question is, how do both speakers feel the media can do better in framing? Okay, uh, as mentioned by Dr. Sharon, that the media emphasizes sensationalism and dramatization in order to sell news. Is this due to the change that the way modern users read the news, or because the media wants it that way? So I think to summarize to both speakers, I think we'll start with Dr. Sharon first, and after that we get Dr. Dafrizal to answer. Essentially, how do you feel? In what ways can the media do better? That's question number one. Number two, are we having these frames because of the users when they read it, or is it because of the media? Yeah, Dr. Sharon, I think if you can turn on your mic. Okay, if Dr. Sharon's not there, maybe Dr. Sharon,
I'm
are you
here.
there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So, yes, how do you think about? Do you think the media can do better in news framing?
Oh, most definitely.
Mm,
Most
mm,
definitely. I feel that, they've been given a lot of journalists have been given a lot of trainings and so on. But I think the challenge is because now with social media, journalists have to keep up with what is viral and what is not, especially with viral stories. So it's tough. It's a tough time for a lot of journalists. There is still the issue of agenda setting. There's still the issue of competition. So whether they can keep up or not, it's we still have to see that.
mm. Do you think that the news trends that we have is because of the way users are reading news now, or is it because of the media?
um it's the way the readers are reading the news. Like I said, with social media, it has made life for journalists very tough,
Mm,
because of the um, the currency, with
mm,
social media, news gets spread so fast.
mm,
So what is happening right now is, let's say there's a crime that occurs. A lot of times netizens tend to have the first hand dip into what is going on,
mm,
and then what happens is the journalist follows, TikTok or other social media, and they find this is happening, and then they act upon it. Gone are the days where the journalist gets the story first. Now
Mm,
it's the
mm.
netizens who are
True.
getting the story first, and then it goes viral, and then we find the journalist working on it. So there are pros and cons to it.
Mm,
I'm a traditionalist. I feel that a lot of netizens who do not have journalism background, they may make assumptions, or they
mm.
may write about a particular news without knowing any background upon it, because
True.
journalists, it is their job to get a non-biased they have to get non-biased information, non-biased
Mm,
content. But unfortunately, what happens here is, with netizens, they only get one side of a story, because they do not have access to official reports or press
true. True.
conferences, or any kind of official documentation. Neither are they allowed to even speak to police officers and so on.
True. True.
So that because of that, netizens only report what they see, what they
Mm,
hear, and
mm,
only one-sided reports lah.
mm.
So when they do this, you have already created a perception in the mind of your followers.
True. True.
So then comes the journalist now trying to break that perception and trying to give different sides of a news story. So for journalism, it is a very tough time.
Mm, mm,
It has become very challenging,
mm.
because they
Definitely.
not only have to do it the traditional way, but they have to ensure that all their bases are covered, and they are not there is no loophole to the story.
True. True. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Sharon. So for Dr. Darizal, what do you think? Do you think the media can do better in terms of news framing?
Yeah, I think media can do better about the this frame especially. Uh, One thing that media have to consider, because
Mm,
media has social responsibility,
mm.
social responsibility. So that's why
Yes.
uh, the frame in text, or
Mm,
the framing in text media, that
mm,
depends on frame in the newsroom. That depends on media policy, and the
mm.
media policy depends on influenced by the government's policy.
Yeah.
So that's why that here media must take social responsibility to the to the community, because uh, let's say for example in the democratization,
Mm,
the media has responsibility as let's say the fourth estafette for the democratization. So that's why uh, media can do better framing uh,
mm.
as a form of social responsibility. Media.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, on the second part of the question, do you think that it is the way it is because of users or because of the media?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think is it because users are, like Dr. Sharon says, users are probably the way they are reading it is very different now due to social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that assurance, because let's say netizen, yeah,
Mm, mm,
netizen public
mm.
right now. Most of them don't know both side of news. Yeah,
True.
they
Mm,
just say they just know just one side of news.
mm,
So that's why I say that depends on journalists or media itself.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. Can I just check whether I think we don't have any further questions. Okay. If we don't have any further questions, I think I just want to thank everyone here. Especially, I know that there are students who are participating. I think shouting out to those from Hanchang, and I think who are participating through a webinar. I mean, through their class itself. Before we go, can I request that we could take a group photo? Yeah. So would like to invite everyone, if you can, to open up your webcam so we can take a group photo screenshot. So reminder to all, if you are participating from Thai UMT for student and staff, I've put in a Google form for you to fill in. This especially for your graduate attribute points. And a reminder from Dr. Lim, we will be providing certificate of participation for this particular webinar. So please ensure that you are registered, and we will be searching your email from the registration form. So if there are any inquiries, you can email to the email provided there, or you can email to me as well. So we really want to thank everyone for your participation in today's webinar. It's truly something very insightful, looking at media framing, especially in two different topics as well. All right, so let me see whether everybody has their camera on. Okay, so I'm gonna take a screenshot. All right, everybody with your best smiles. Three, two, one. Okay, let me just check and oops. Yeah, let me just check and make sure that I have that. Okay, okay, I have that. I have that. All right, cool, cool. Okay, thanks so much again for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate your participation, and we hope that the session has been as insightful to you as to us as well. And we hope to see you again for the next webinar. Thank you again for our speakers, Dr. Sharon, also Dr.
Thank you so
Dafrizal.
much.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. All right, thank you, everyone. See you all. Take care.